Hey there, ninjas. I'm back today with another chicken question. So many roasting chicken questions, which is awesome because I love roasting chickens. Well, the chickens I'm sure aren't super stoked. So, anyway, today's question is from Ron, and he asked about roasting a chicken breast up or thighs up, and what I meant by thighs up when I had mentioned it in another video. So, here's the thing. Most people roast their chicken breast up, and you know how that looks, right? Like the wide sort of overarching part of the chicken is up, kind of like when you think about like a Thanksgiving Day turkey, and then its little legs are like boop up in the back, kind of like this. And that's great. A lot of people roast their chickens like that. It's awesome. The problem is that there's two different halves of the bird. There's the top half where the breast is, and the bottom half where the thighs are. It's actually kind of an angle like this. And the breasts cook really quickly and tend to overcook, while the thighs cook a little bit more slowly because they're dark meat and also because they're at the bottom of the pan. And they are actually the most forgiving part of the bird. The dark meat is moister, so it tends to be a little bit more forgiving of overcooking. Like if you were to cook a breast to 170 degrees, it'd be like, I'm like chewing on a shoe, versus cooking the thighs to 170 degrees, and they're a lot more palatable. And a lot more flavorful. Personally, I'm a dark meat girl. So I roast my chicken thighs up first, right? And so the reason I do this is because the thighs cook slower anyway. And when they're at the bottom of the pan underneath the breast, because you're cooking it breast up, they cook even slower, right? So what I do is I start the bird upside down and I have the thighs up, breast down, and I cook it for like 20 minutes, maybe a little longer, 25 minutes with the thighs up. And then I flip the bird over, and so it's breast up then. So then those thighs and the dark meat, the drumsticks got a head start, and the breast was protected for that time because it was down. It was being protected by the pan and the overall like body of the bird, right? So then what you've done is you've given your thighs and your dark meat, basically, like I said, a head start. Right, so when you flip it over, then the thighs have already cooked a little bit, so they're going to finish the cooking down at the bottom. Your breast is at the top, and they're going to come to fruition hopefully about the same time as the thighs and the dark meat. Now, it's a chicken, and it's all ovens are different, and all pans are different depending on how high your pan is, how thick your pan is. If you've got your bird like lifted up off the bottom of the pan on a rack versus just sitting on the bottom of the pan or sitting on some vegetables. So there's a lot of different factors that go into how fast a chicken cooks and how fast different parts of the chicken cook. And so what I recommend doing is pulling the chicken out at some point when you think it's done, depending on what recipe you're using and what temperature you're cooking it at, how big your bird is and how big your oven is. Again, there's a million different factors on how long it takes to cook a chicken. People always ask me, how long do I roast a 3-pound bird for? And I'm like, depends on, I'd have to see your oven, basically. And so what you do is you take the bird out when you think it's done, you test the breast, you test the thighs, and if any part of that bird is done, and other parts of the bird are not done, you remove the parts that are done. You slice off those thighs, or you slice off the breast, or whatever is at temperature. And then you put the bird back so that whatever is not done yet can continue cooking. Now, I want to revisit another second what I just mentioned about like the different time factors it takes to roast a chicken. So I'll tell you a little story. Last Thanksgiving or the Thanksgiving before, like we just moved into this house and we have this little tiny oven. It's like a 16 by 16 inch cube, right? It's tiny. Like I put my half sheet pans in there and they go to the back of the oven and they actually prop up on the back of the oven. So they're at a slight angle. Like it's this tiny, tiny oven. And so I bought a turkey for Thanksgiving, and I bought a very small turkey. It was like 6 or 7 pounds, maybe 8 pounds, but it was a relatively small turkey. And, you know, turkey cooks, I don't remember exactly what the time is. Like there's like a per pound timing at a certain temperature, which off the top of my head, I don't remember. But I mean, generally turkeys take a while to cook. I put that turkey in the oven and that turkey was done in like 45 minutes because the oven is so small that there was like not much room around the turkey. And it basically like kept that heat in such a like close quarters to the bird that it cooked really, really quickly. It kind of created like a micro pressure cooker almost. And so we ended up taking the bird out, cutting off the breasts because the thighs still needed a little bit more time to cook because I didn't even have time to like negotiate with how I was going to cook this bird. Like I started it breast up because what I was going to do is remove the breast and then flip it over later. So I was kind of going to go backwards over the method I just said because I wanted to serve the breast first and then we would have the thighs later. But like I didn't even get a chance to do that. Like that turkey cooked like that. And everybody in the house was surprised because the turkey ended up being done like an hour before anything else. So we had to like shuffle around. So that's what I mean when I say, Like how long something takes to cook, something big like a bird, really depends on so many factors. Like I said, it depends on the size of your oven. It depends on how old your oven is, how efficiently it's heated, of course, what temperature you're cooking at, how big the bird itself is, what kind of pan you're cooking it in, how big the pan is versus like the overall like heat convection of the oven. Because if you have like a small oven and a big pan, like that pan basically acts like a wall. And then if you're if your heating element's on the bottom of the oven and the birds appear, like heat getting up, there's an endless number of factors. So that's why I say that it's really difficult to tell you exactly how long to roast your chicken for. And that's why I recommend getting you the thermometers that I showed yesterday. So go back to yesterday's like Facebook Live to see the video that I posted about thermometers. And when one of the thermometers that I showed you, literally it's a little box with a wire that comes out and a probe, but you stick the probe in the chicken and then the wire comes out of the oven and then you put the actual box with the temperature measurement like next to the oven and you set it. And you set it to the temperature that you want your chicken done at. I usually set it to like 150, 155 because there's more carryover cooking to be done after you pull it out of the oven. So if you pull it out at like 160, 165, that bird's going to cook to like 170, 175 by the time it's actually done carryover cooking, which would overcook it. So I pull it out 150, 155, depending on where I got the bird and how much I trust the source. But that little thingy beeps when it's done. So I can like throw my bird in the oven, like flip it over at some point if I've decided to start it thighs up, go about my business and then forget about it. And then that little beepy thing reminds me to come pull my chicken out so I don't have to worry about it. It's awesome. It also saves me the hassle of like pulling it out, checking it, and it's not done yet. Pulling it out again, not checking it, it's not done yet, And so that little thermometer is a lifesaver. Again, that was in yesterday's Facebook Live video. Go ahead and check that out to check out all the other thermometers that I posted and additional tips for roasting a chicken over the past week. I hope that answers your question, Ron. I'll talk to you guys soon.